Been a while. Been a while. Oh, here we go.
Bog toppers.
That's the one. 6 of them, please.
Lovely.
Oh,
He's still got it.
a little bit of flight and guile.
Oh,
He nicked it though. Good revs on that. Good shot.
oh yeah.
Yeah, touch wide. Just can't do it anymore.
Just give yourself a break. You're involved with some-
17 years.
Yeah. Oh,
Bit of omelette on that. Listen, I've thoroughly enjoyed that.
thanks.
All the very
Toppers.
best for this winter.
Cheers for your help this summer.
Blimey, you were so disorientated at the end, you couldn't even get the season right.
I got the wrong season. Oh, it was fantastic. Had a wonderful time with Jack. Really did enjoy that. And funnily enough, even though the body's hurting a little bit afterwards, really enjoyed having a bowl with him. It was great fun and learned a lot about Jack. He's a top man.
Well, I tell you what, we last played cricket together, I think 17 years ago, and it was, the recoveries were quite difficult back then. So 17 years on, goodness me.
I know. The knees and the lower back. I couldn't quite finish me action. I was a bit like the Tin Man. What is it? Out of Wizard of Oz, isn't it? Yeah.
You've got me intrigued though, Tuffers. What's a bit of omelette?
A bit of omelette.
Yeah, I wondered that.
A little bit of well, we used to call the omelette the rough outside the left-handers off stump. Plop it in the omelette, all sorts of things can happen. I used to know what was going on out there. So if it turned, if it went straight on, if it bounced or whatever. So that's the omelette.
So, Alex Hartley, were you expecting this evening just to be sort of two old men discussing their various frailties and their body weaknesses as we hurtle towards old age?
Well, I could probably join in, to be honest. Played yesterday. My body's in bits.
Behave. Right, before we get into Jack Leach and really talk about the art of spin bowling and so much to get into from Phil's interview with him, we just want to touch on the Ashes. First test, men's test, starts at Edgbaston on the 16th of June. And you would say, wouldn't you, Alex, that with less than a month to go, there are just a few question marks around England. I mean, particularly injury-wise.
Yeah, of course. They seem to just get injuries at the wrong time at the minute, don't they? Ollie Robb going for a scan today. Jimmy with his groin. We know he probably won't play against Ireland, but he's saying he's going to be fit for the Ashes. But you're always going to say that you're going to be fit, aren't you? Even if there is those question marks. So yeah, there are some question marks. Jofra Archer, a huge blow not being in the England side. But I guess with him being missing, you can't miss what you haven't had recently. He's been out for a very long time. But yeah, there are some question marks. England have played some fantastic cricket leading up to this Ashes, but these injuries are not ideal.
I feel like for ages, Phil, we've talked about strength in depth when it comes to the bowlers, the fast bowlers or the seamers, or however you want. They have been able to maybe take one out every now and then and bring another one in and just give a bit of a rest. But actually, with the players that Alex has mentioned, Jimmy and Jofra Archer and Ollie Stone and Ollie Robinson's got the scan, results on Tuesday. All of a sudden, whilst you've still got, a few to choose from, lose a couple more and blimey, they're in trouble.
Well, yes, but it's always the same, isn't it? At the start of every sort of big series, whether you're home or away, these things do crop up, and we have got strength in depth. As you say, the likes of Mark Wood, Chris Wokes, all these kind of guys are fit and raring to go and just drop in. I'm concerned about Ollie Robinson. I think he's going to have a huge role to play on English pitches. He's been in fantastic form, and I think he has the ability to become a real world beater, Ollie Robinson. So slightly concerned about him. Obviously, Jofra Archer, been out for a long time. Our thoughts go to him. Elbow's very, very difficult sort of part of the body for a quick bowler to get right. But and hopefully Jimmy knows his body by now. I mean, crikey, O'Reilly. And if he's saying he's going to be fit, I'm pretty sure he will be. So Robinson is a worry for me. But yeah, we do have a lot in the locker. But yeah, just things just slightly, or best laid plans and all that. They always just start to sort of turn round a little bit. So England will be keeping an eye on that.
The other thing, just on form as well, Alex, and we know you love the IPL. You know, the England men, it's been a very mixed tournament for the England men, and a few of them have properly dipped recently out there, whilst at the same time, and you tell me how much you would read into this, Smith's hit 89 for Sussex, Labuschagne got a century for Glamorgan, he's averaging over 70, Marcus Harris hit an unbeaten 100 for Gloucestershire. I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but there is a contrast there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is a little bit of a contrast. I guess leading into an Ashes series, you don't want your best players sitting on the bench and not playing cricket or not having game time. They'll have had plenty of practice. I think in the past I'd have been slightly worried about the fact that, you know, your Root, your Stokes, they've not been playing a massive amount of cricket. But with the way this England team play, they'll just go out and go, oh, well, it's best when fresh. We've had a bit of time off. You know, we've been out there. We've been at the IPL. We've been learning from other players. We've been in different scenarios. We've learnt how to attack in different scenarios, yes, albeit white ball. But nothing surprises me anymore with this England team. So, you know, they'll turn up for the Ireland test, and it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, they're going to turn around and say being out there in India was a positive.
Yeah, because actually that's a very good point on them being fresh, because you can't have it both ways, can you? You can't for ages go, oh, God, they're playing too much cricket, too much franchise cricket, they're going here, there and everywhere, and then actually when they're not involved in that franchise cricket, you can't then complain that they're not playing, because then they will be fresh.
Yeah, I guess the difference is, you know, a couple of the Aussies have been out here getting used to the conditions. They've been playing 4-day cricket. They've been scoring runs, albeit Steve Smith getting fired left, right and centre for LBWs that probably don't look like they're out. But we like an English umpire at the minute, don't we? So I'm all for it. But yeah, I guess there's pros and cons to each scenario. You know, you've got Labuschagne and Smith, Australia's two best batters. They are getting used to the English conditions. However, is it going to have done them that much good? I guess time will tell.
Let's get to it then. Phil and Jack Leach meeting at Lord's last week. The first thing they started discussing was their love of a good stumping.
Jack, great to see you, mate. What is it for you that you love so much about bowling left arm spin?
I think as a kid growing up, it was that deception, you know, doing batters in the air. And I think I always remember my favourite dismissal was like getting someone stumped. Yeah, so like they're coming down to play a big shot off you. Yeah. You know, you beat them in the air and then off the pitch and they're scrambling back and, yeah, you get them out stumped. So I think that was always my favourite dismissal growing up. What about you?
Exactly the same reason. Nothing
Really?
better than a stumping.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Did you used to get the feel of when they were coming down the pitch?
Yeah, you do, don't you? And
Yeah.
I think, I mean, sometimes you say you saw them coming and you didn't, you just dragged it down. Yeah, I think there is something. And I, you know, when you're bowling in the nets and guys go, oh, did you see me there? And you don't necessarily see it, but you feel it.
Yeah.
And I think you've really got to trust that as a spinner, and you can't really describe why you felt it. It just felt like it was going to happen.
Yeah, it's like a little sixth sense. And do you build overs as well when you're bowling? Or do you just sort of like take each ball as it comes, look at the batsmen, see what they're up to and things like that? Or do you have a sort of a plan in your mind?
I think when I'm bowling my best, I probably do. You're always trying to work towards a dismissal maybe for a certain batter. And Baz has actually been really good for me for that. He's sort of told me about kind of working towards that dismissal. It might take 5 balls, it might take 25 balls, but and then it might be about changing your plan. But always having that kind of mode of dismissal in your head for certain batters. So yeah, and I think that obviously depends on the pitch and the conditions and all sorts of things.
Talking about pitches, what role do you sort of prefer doing, or what excites you more? Sometimes bowling in that first innings and sort of holding an end and doing your job, or when it's absolutely zipping?
Obviously, when the conditions favour you, probably there's more pressure on you to get it done. So I think I enjoy dealing with that pressure well and feeling like I've done a good job on a spinning wicket. But I'd say then also you get a lot of satisfaction out of what you're able to produce as a spinner if you're bowling well on flatter wickets, because you feel like the ball's probably coming out with a lot of revs, and yeah, you feel like you're bowling spin well, I guess, when the wickets are flatter and you're still doing a good job. So I would say, obviously, there's nothing better than when it's ragging and you feel like
you're having fun.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not always the case. And you have to definitely enjoy bowling on those flatter wickets for sure.
Yeah, I used to like that. I used to like doing that job, and as you say, you come back and you get that little tap on the shoulder from your teammates.
Yeah.
You go, that was a pretty good bit of bowling that in unhelpful conditions. I used to just like take my old boots off and I've done my job there.
Yeah.
Talking about pressure, usually only one spinner in the side, and so when that does come your way, how do you sort of handle that?
Yeah, I guess you get used to that.
Come on, mate, it's turning. Should be getting 7 for here.
Oh, that is the worst, isn't it? It's like when the opposition spinner spins one ball and it's pretty much a good wicket. They just look straight at you and go, "It's your job." And the seamers love doing that. I enjoy being. It can be a lonely place, I think, as a spinner, and you have to kind of use your teammates, your wicket keeper. I think that's really important. To try and, I guess, have a bit of a entourage of people who are going to help you out.
One thing I always used to think to myself, as you say, when those little pressure moments come in and you know it's down to you and you know the ball's spinning and they're looking to you to win the game, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
I always used to think to myself, well, it's turning.
Yeah.
I'd rather be bowling on this than an absolute road, so go out and enjoy
it. Plenty more from Jack Leach to come. Can it be a lonely place, Alex Hartley?
Yeah, it can be an extremely lonely place. I think as well when your team's under pressure, I guess when the seamers need a rest and they call upon you and you've got to hold up one end or try and create some pressure and you're the only spinner in the side, you're sort of expected to bowl economically but also take wickets at the same time, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. So yeah, it can be extremely lonely.
Yeah, I think that's something that came across there, and we've been talking about this Bazball and what have you, and about the way they've gone out and played with the bat and what have you. I got the feeling from Jack there that he's been told, just attack, attack, enjoy that. If you go through a few runs, I mean, Alex just said there that you obviously want to keep it tight, but I think that he's almost sort of like of the mindset, and especially under Ben Stokes as well, that, we don't really mind if you go for a few runs and it's turning, I'd rather you try and sort of lure them and get hit for a 4, but there's that wicket, and I think that's the whole mindset that's sort of changed with this England side, and it's come through to Jack Leach, just the way that Stokes sets his fields and what have you as well. It's that sort of, listen, we don't worry about you sort of like holding up and then what we want is 5 foot or 6 foot. That's what we want from you, in the second innings, because that's your job, and don't feel hemmed in about that, if you know what I'm trying to say. Just go out there and express yourself.
I think when you've got a captain that allows you to do that as well, it gives you so much more confidence as a spinner. Quite often throughout the winter we've seen Jack Leach be hit over the top for 4 and Ben Stokes has got a huge smile on his face and he's clapping and he's going, that's exactly what we want, that's exactly what we need. So I think when you've got a captain, especially as a left arm spinner, it can be quite a tough art to master. I think you can get into the mindset of, I'm going for loads of runs here, I need to nail this, where actually as if you are going for runs, you're creating chances as well, especially when it comes to Test cricket. And I think credit to Ben Stokes for allowing Jack Leach now to express himself in the way that he is.
Do you think Stokes' captaincy then, Alex, has taken away that sort of lonely place? Because as everybody's been discussing, a bowling attack is a collective. But look, let's say it was a green tinge wicket. It's not just on one seamer then, is it? It might be on 2 or 3 of the seamers. It's not only one seamer in a bowling attack and it's all on them. Whereas with the spinner, invariably, I know sometimes there are 2 spinners, but invariably it is on that one spinner. Yeah, even within the bowling attack.
What Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum have done is taken away the fear of failure, and I think that's a massive thing as a spinner, because you are going to have days where you go for more runs or you don't get as many wickets as your team's expecting or you're expecting from yourself, but you can't fail under Ben Stokes, and I think that as a player gives you so much more confidence and so much more freedom to be able to bowl in the way that you want, that you're able to be brave with your bowling. Quite often as a spinner, you're thinking, how brave can I be? Can I take a little bit of pace off it and entice the batter to come down the track, try and hit me over the top? And Jack Leach is allowed to do that now.
I think also, Chappers, as well, which came across, I don't know whether you're going to be playing it later on or not, is that the way Test match cricket is played now has changed as well. You know, as a spin bowler, when you come on, as you say, you're that sort of single bowler, the batters are looking to take you down straight away. They're not looking to sort of like play you around, even if it is a turning wicket. So it is a sort of a collective thing now that the captain has to be right on it with his field placings, with the mindset of his spinner as well. Because, you know, when I played, first couple of overs, you plopped them there or thereabouts to your field, and they hit the field, and there you were, a couple of 3 maidens under your belt, and off you were running. First 2 or 3 balls, they're looking to come down and whack you out the ground for 6 now.
I've got that to play in a little bit, Phil, so don't worry. That's coming.
Oh, sorry,
also, no, it's coming. No, it's coming. You asked if I was going to play the Test cricket bit. We'll play the Test cricket bit in a bit. The other great thing about doing this, just to let you know, is that both Alex and Phil are actually bowling their spin whilst talking us through every so amazing. It only tends to happen when you talk to spinners that they do. I don't tend to see when we talk to seamers on here. They don't tend to do their action. Spinners always do. Right, on to the next bit. Variation and guile, the ability to trick a batter is key to a spinner, of course. How much does Leach work at them, and how important are they to him?
Yeah, I think I would be more natural variation to start with, and I think because I grew up when I played on some spinning surfaces at Taunton, and I think on those wickets probably less is more, so you're trying to hit your area as much as you can into the wicket, and things happen, and then it's probably playing more international cricket, trying to learn how to use those variations, and I mean, I guess speed is the big one. You know, I've worked on, and I continue to work on different seam positions, obviously.
What, in the hand, in the fingers?
Yeah. So, you know, over the top, side spin,
undercut.
and undercut, but not really like a traditional arm ball.
Yeah.
You bowled that, didn't you?
Yes, but they say they saw it coming sort of like a week before.
I heard you had the best arm ball going. And I guess the thing with that is to bowl it at a similar pace, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and you can tee them up a little bit with that. I mean, one of the best arm balls I ever saw was Daniel Vittori.
Yeah.
Had an absolute cork. I mean, there was no sort of like change, really.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Do you vary your paces as well and pull the guys around the crease? Do you bowl from different plants on the crease sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've tried to come closer. I naturally was out wider, and I've tried to almost come middle, be able to use middle of the crease as well. I guess, you know, the more closer to the stumps you're bowling, I feel like I have to spin it less to beat them, and then I can sort of beat both sides more easily. So definitely use of the crease and pace. Yeah, I mean, I think up and down. I think the thing for me is how quick can I bowl it with the shape still.
Yeah. I've noticed that actually. What I've noticed about you lately is that you really are driving through it now, aren't you? With that buttock.
Yeah.
And that knee.
Yeah.
Which then gives you that little bit of in curve, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think.
And sort of, you know, real follow through and drive through.
Definitely. I think that was a big thing Jeets wanted me to do, was like, I guess use my body a lot more, my lower body, to maybe bowl my balls and get the most kind of action on the ball, I guess.
Yeah.
There's always things you're working on as a spinner, I think, and I'm always open to ideas if you've got any.
Are you setting your own fields?
I think it's a bit of a joint effort, me and Stokesy. Stokesy is probably, I'll try and set it, and then Stokesy might try and make it a little bit more positive if, someone will hit me over the top and I'll go, what about one of them out? And he'll go, no, absolutely not. No. And so that's the end of that one. And then it's about me kind of trying to get more shape on it and do them in the air to beat them. So, but no, I've loved the last bit of time. Like Stokesy's shown a lot of faith in me and bowled me in a lot of different situations, which is really, well, hopefully will help me moving forward in terms of playing in all situations and not just bowling when it's spinning, you know. It's important for a spinner to know how to bowl on those flatter wickets.
Absolutely.
Right, Phil, none of the self-deprecating nonsense here, right? Because you were a very good bowler in your time. So How many variations do you think you had, and how much work did you say put into your favourite variation?
Yeah, I mean, you had your variations. I mean, as I bowled more and more and more and got more experienced and managed to sort of like be confident. I mean, most of my variations were differences of flight, which I think perhaps Jack is just trying to work on a little bit more. When we were in the nets and I was with him, I mean, he's a solid bloke, Jack Leach, and he's a strong kind of fella. And I was amazed at the energy that he puts on that delivery. I mean, he really does get it down there at a good lick and with really good revs and really a powerful action. Okay, I'm a bit older now, but if I would have hit the stumps, I would have been struggling to knock the bail off. But I mean, he really does get it down nice and quick, and I was sort of discussing that with him and just saying that perhaps there is that art of that little bit of dip, that little bit of taking the pace off and pulling them around the crease a little bit to try and get him to mistime things. I think that's what he's working on a lot as well. But I was extremely impressed with him, actually, just at the kind of the strong body position and that energy. And you were saying that, spin bowling, people don't think it's sort of tiring. It is, you're like a coiled spring when you're in that position, and then you get through it and you fizz it and you're through it and everything like that. You've got to bowl spin aggressively. And then my variations were then sort of bowling it aggressively and then just taking that pace off it a little bit. Changes of pace was my kind of things. And then you play around with arm balls and little undercutters that skid on, or the wrist is a bit like that and it gets a little bit more sort of overspin and things like that. But that all comes from that basic sort of stock delivery. And that basic stock delivery has improved with Jack a hell of a lot. He used to bowl sort of straight at the batsman, but now because of that sort of like energy and that action, he gets that little in curve and in drift, which is crucial for a spinner, especially on flat pitches.
Do you think people underestimate, Alex, the physicality of spin bowling, which Phil mentioned there with the coiled spring? This assumption that if required, a spinner can hold up an end for 20 overs whilst all the seamers just put their feet up on rotation.
Yeah, definitely. I think we saw with Sophie Eccleston playing in Test match against India a couple of years ago. She bowled 60 overs. Her shoulder's not been right since, because she was holding up an end for the whole Test match, and she's been struggling with her shoulder injury since then. So you think actually it is physical, and quite often after a day in the dirt or you've bowled a 10 over spell, I often think, my shoulder's a bit sore, or my calves are sore because I've been driving through the ball. And more often than not, I've got a headache because I'm having to think. You're having to be proactive. You're having to, what is the batter doing? What are they thinking? I need to be on top of my game. I need to think better than them. What's their next move? So your brain's constantly going ding, 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 ding. And what do I need to do in what situations? When's the right variation to bowl? So yeah, for me, it's you're constantly thinking and constantly trying to get one over on the batter, I guess.
Can you overthink it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually in the process of overthinking my game myself at the minute, and I'm bowling terribly. I played a T20 yesterday, I only bowled one over. So yeah, I'm definitely overthinking the game. You can often think, don't bowl a wide, and then you obviously bowl a wide. You want to bowl back of a length in T20, but you don't want to bowl too short. You don't want to get hit square. I'm getting hit square. So you can overthink it, and it's the classic don't think of a pink elephant. You're then thinking of a pink elephant. And I think with spin bowling, you have to be positive and you have to think positively to get the best out of yourself.
And because, as well as overthinking it, because you have so many options available to you, which is what Phil and Jack were talking about, whether that's speed, whether that's flight, whether that's use of the crease, whether that's arm ball, whether it's just what you may be doing with the ball itself, because you have so many options available to you. You could, as well as overthinking it, you could overcomplicate it.
Yeah, of course you can. I think quite often, I've been guilty of it in the past, is when things are going really well and you're bowling a 10 over spell, but actually you've not picked up the wickets that you want, but you're being economical. You can almost try and get ahead of the game and you think, well, I want to bowl this. I'm going to try and get a wicket by doing this, where actually your natural variation is the one that's most likely going to get the wicket. You have to nail your stock ball. You want the ball drifting in, pitching on off stump, middle stump, and then turning away from the right-hander. And you can often get ahead of yourself and overcomplicate things because you want to get that wicket. So it's like anything, really. You can get ahead of yourself.
Tailenders. Much more than just a cricket podcast.
Loosely cricket based, meaning we very rarely talk about world cricket.
Yes, but when we need to, we can do.
Boy, can we deliver. As England's greatest ever bowler, you don't need to do this podcast, but why do you? Welcome to Tailenders, a loosely cricket-based
Loosely cricket-based
podcast from me, G-Force, him, Felix White, him, Jimmy Anderson, Sachin Tendulkar distantly.
Tailenders.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Back to the cricket then. Jack Leach made his county debut in 2012. His Test debut followed 6 years later. In this section, this is the bit for you, Phil. Here we go. This is the Test cricket bit. Phil asked Jack what he had learnt. Although if you listen to this, Jack almost gets away without answering the question.
What have you learned through your Test career so far?
So much.
Yeah.
I think, what have I learnt?
That's the phone.
That's Saved by the Bell. What have I learnt? I think a lot about my action. Like I've talked about how I use my body to bowl and get as much spin on the ball as possible. I think that was a big thing for me, going from county cricket where I was playing on some spinning surfaces. You know, you don't have to put as much maybe on it, maybe not bowl with as much overspin. I was more square spin. So a lot about actually just the fundamentals of bowling spin. I feel like I've had to kind of get up to speed, if you like, with those things. And, that's just a daily work on for me. And I guess, guys, in most series I play in, I feel like I'm playing in a pretty good seam attack. So actually, when I come on, they're going to look to be pretty positive against me and learning how to deal with that. I haven't played much T20 and one-day cricket. So, but some of those skills, I think, from those other formats can really help in Test cricket potentially, and I've had to kind of learn them through Test cricket, I feel, and kind of that getting into your spell maybe looks a little bit different to what it did when I started playing in 2012 for Somerset. Yeah, and I guess the last 12 months with Stokesy and Baz, I think we've all learnt things about the game and how it can be played in such a positive manner and always looking to win every moment but not fear losing, I guess. And actually the kind of pressure that's taken off me really has been really fun to be involved in. And I just feel like I'm there to take wickets as much as I am there to hold an end or whatever. And actually the one thing that slows guys down is wickets. So it's lots. I've probably learned a lot more than that, but those are the things that I can think of off the top of my head. But I mean, what did you learn in your Test career?
What I learned in my Test career was never to give up. All it takes is one split second. That if you just keep you focused and keep yourself in the moment.
Great shout.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I've said before is like, the thing I love about Test cricket is you can have a bad day, but you've got the next day. You've always got the next day to try and put that right. Like you say, never give up.
Well, exactly. And it's a ball-by-ball basis because it just takes one of them to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have to bowl the beautiful ball because they come down and just have a hack and miss it. And then that next ball, you're back to square one. The bloke's on naught again.
How difficult, though, Phil? And we've talked many times on this programme, you're in Sydney in 40-degree heat or whatever. It's all very well saying to Jack, don't give up.
No.
Don't give up and keep going. That's easier said than done.
Absolutely, as I found out when I bowled against Brian Lara and he scored 375. You do have to.
But the next ball might have been the one, Phil. The next ball.
Yes, it might have been. It might have been. And even though we have a laugh about it, that is the mindset you've got to do. I think what also Jack was trying to sort of get to there was that belief that you can do it. As a spin bowler, you need that 5-wicket haul in Test match cricket, sometimes just to think to yourself, wow, you know what I mean? I can actually do it, because at the end of the day, you are just bowling it slowly at these wonderful players, and these wonderful batsmen that are around the country and what have you. So you do need that belief, and you need that you need to keep that in the back of your mind at all stages, even though they're going well and it's hot and it's flat and it's what have you. You know what I mean? You just need to sort of like keep believing that I can do this. I'm right at this level. You know, I just need that little bit of break or something to go my way, and then I'm in. I think that's what I learned.
They both talked there, didn't they, Alex, about the importance of a plan. How many, in your experience, how many balls ahead have you ever worked? Do you know? Have you thought, right? Well, if this batter stays on strike for this whole over, this is what I'm going to do. Ball 1 to 6.
No, I don't think I've ever done that. I think, like we were talking about earlier, you go off instinct, and a particular wicket of mine was in the World Cup back in 2017, and I'm stood at the top of my mark, and I go, something's going to happen here. Do I go arm ball or do I go back of a length? And for whatever reason it was, I went back of a length ball, and it turned past the outside edge, and you got the wicket, and we got the wicket. So you have to go off that natural instinct. And I think I've not played Test match cricket, so I don't know if you Phil, I don't know, you might be able to answer for me if you can plan 2 or 3 balls in advance, but definitely in white ball cricket you go more off instinct, and you back yourself as a bowler because you've done it for so many years that you almost get that feeling that if I just get this right and I pitch this in the right area, it is going to do something, it is going to kiss off the surface. So yeah, you've just got to back yourself, and I guess for me it's never about forward planning.
Yeah, well, in Test match cricket you can a little bit, because you can set people up with fields, and you have to do that a little bit perhaps in the first innings when it's not turning. Listen, if it's turning, it's like throwing darts a little bit, really. You know what I mean? You just hit that area, pitching straight, turning.
But how far, Phil? I mean, are you talking?
Well,
deliveries in advance, or say 4 in 3 overs time?
No, you build your over. And you know, and also you'd have been thinking it the night beforehand. You know what I mean? You can usually tell the way the batsman sets up. You've done your homework. You've played against these guys. You know whether he plays with a shut face. You know whether he likes to sort of hang back. You know whether he likes to come down the wicket a lot and what have you. So with those kind of things, I'll give you a great example of how I got Hansi Cronje out at Port Elizabeth, and I played against him, and I think he was playing for Ireland, and he smashed me everywhere, and he just kept running down the track at me. So I thought to myself, and this was the night before, and I said, if Hansi's just come in, I'm going to be sitting there thinking to myself, I bet he comes down the track to me first ball just to try and get that sort of, you know, that advantage on me. So I said, I bet he does. So I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss one up slightly slower, wide of off stump, because he usually runs down the track straight at you like that. He doesn't look to hit offside. He looks to come down and hit you back over your head. So I'm thinking that beforehand, and it just come in. I was throwing the ball, and I thought to myself, right, first ball, I'm going to toss it up wide, floaty outside off stump, and get him driving. I've got a man on the drive and a silly point, and he smashed it straight to Freddie Flintoff, who was at extra cover. So that's how you're sort of planning things that before they happen. You've got a feel of how the batsman wants to play, his technique, and how he sets up to play as well. And then also you then start sort of like teeing him up. You know, you go. You'd take a mid-wicket out. And you'd perhaps bowl wide of the off-stump a little bit, hitting through the offside, and then you'd perhaps bowl him a slower one, perhaps on middle and leg, so he naturally wants to clip it through that mid-wicket, turns a little bit, caught and bowled. So all these kind of things are sort of going through your mind subconsciously, but sometimes it is actually as plain as day. Third ball, gonna bowl it slower. Fourth ball, gonna bowl an arm ball, because you've sort of teed him up a little bit to get him to that position.
We often, the night before a game, or a couple of days before, you have a team meeting and you go, right, what are certain players' weaknesses? And you get it on a sheet of paper. Their weaknesses to off spin, their weaknesses to left arm spin, seam, whatever it is. And then so I'll know that I want certain girls to sweep me, and then I can get them LBW, the ball just sliding on. So I guess you do your prep the night before, and then when you're in a game, you've thought about that. You thought about how you're going to get each batter out, and then for me, I let my natural instinct take over.
But then, and this is just the final one on this, how do you deal with knowing that the batters may get after you?
I love it.
That might be part of your role. So in a white ball game, in the 100, whatever, you might have to accept that you're going to go, your first 2 balls are going to go for 6 if it's going to eventually execute your plan.
Yeah, for me personally, that this is going to, people at home are going to be like, what? But I would much rather be hit over my long-on's head for 6 than dropped into the onside for 1. I hate it when batters just knock me around. I want them to be attacking, because if they're defending me and they're just going, right, we're going to play Hartley out, we know she's the threat, so happy for her to bowl her 20 balls for 25 or whatever it is. I want batters to come at me. I want them to be aggressive so that I can be aggressive towards them as well, and with aggressive batting brings opportunities.
Phil, did you ever mind them going after you?
Well, yes. It's not very, it's nice when they then sort of like go after you and slog one up in the air or miss it, but then
If you keep going.
if they keep going, it's not very good. So, but then as you say, what I then used to do, if you knew people were coming after you, I used to then change your pace, try and get them to miss hit. That's what my sort of plan was, and also then try to pull them around the crease with sort of like slightly wider, slightly straighter, so they could they never really knew as they tapped down and had a look as you were running in exactly what was coming their way. That is a good way to try and get them off balance if they're coming for you.
Phil may have thought he was going to be asking all the questions in this chat. Didn't turn out that way. Jack in this 4 minutes basically turns the tables.
Would you chirp batters?
I chirped Brian Lara when he was on 315. And I kind of stopped after that.
What did you say to him?
Oh, I don't know. No, I had the pleasure of bowling against Brian for 2.5 days in Antigua.
Wow.
Yeah, when he got 375. And that was... I started actually quite enjoying what he was doing. You know what I mean? Because I was bowling it, I was like... What a shot that was! Yeah, he was.
What did he do? Sweep a lot or run down?
What he did, and a few players can do it, is hit the ball that should be hit into the field where the fielders aren't. All of a sudden, then you start chasing where he's hitting the ball with your field, and then he just starts playing orthodox shots. And you've moved all the fielders for there. So that's what they're very, very good at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Manipulating your field. And Brian was probably one of the best.
What were your big things for your action that you
Three triggers.
Right.
Three triggers. Get me run up, right?
Yeah.
Attack the crease. Hold. Even though I was a bit of a run-through bowler.
But it feels to you like you're holding.
There's just that, as you well know, there's that just little chin-up sort of feeling of standing tall.
Yeah.
And then my wicket keepers always say you get your chin down the wicket.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and so that sort of like run up nice and just that feeling of just holding. And then, as you say, bang, bang, and then down the track, you know.
You were lovely side on, weren't you? Like your back foot, you were running in almost into that position.
Yes, yeah, almost, yeah. Because I used to bowl fast, you see. Well, fastish.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that helped me. You know, cause I always had that natural rhythm sort of to the wicket, you know what I mean, like you were bowling seam, you know. In fact, when things didn't go so, if I couldn't get my rhythm in the nets or anything, I used to run up and bowl little seamers.
Did you? Yeah.
I found that helped just get you into that sort of smooth action.
The thing that I've struggled is my run up, like getting that rhythm, and I actually spoke to Daniel Vittori and he said that he did as well.
Yeah, me too.
Which I couldn't believe. But
well, I had hop, skips and jumps and all sorts of things. I know, I was like, yeah, but just to get you
natural.
Yeah, just to get you that momentum to get moving.
Yeah. Who are your favourite spinners to watch at the moment, other than me?
My favourite spinners to watch. I enjoy watching them all. It's the best.
Do you love watching spin?
I love watching spin. I love seeing, I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but the game of chess, you know, played on grass. I love that aspect of it. I love the way that, and I grew to love that more as I played.
So Jack interviewing Phil for that one. Run up and rhythm, how important, Alex? And when it goes, how hard is it to get it back?
Yeah, I think it's actually something I'm struggling with at the minute, is when I'm going into bowl, the run-up doesn't quite feel right. And no matter how many times I'm marking it at the minute, something's not quite right for me. And I think as a spinner, you want to be relaxed. You want to be like a well-oiled machine. You want to feel the rhythm. You want to feel like you can just go up to the crease and bowl your delivery and you're in total control. So when something's not quite right, it can throw your whole game off, and it can... For me, it's a case of bowling more and more and more to try and get that back, whereas others, it might just be they need a few days away to try and just get cricket out their minds and try and just, start again and, pretend the last couple of weeks hasn't happened.
But the assumption would always be a bit like Phil, it's not that hard work. The assumption would be that, actually, for a spin bowler, they shouldn't really lose their run-up and rhythm because it's not that long. And actually, that's completely the wrong perception as well.
Yeah, of course. I think cricket is a game where run-up and rhythms are really, really important. Whether you're a seam bowler or a spinner, you've got a run-up for a reason. If you didn't need that, nobody would ever have a run-up. They'd just go, all right, I'll run in from there, I'll do. And then we'd turn around and you'd bowl the ball. But every bowler in the world has a run-up because that's, they're important and you get your rhythm from the run-up.
Yeah, it's tempo, chappers. It's tempo. And you're just listening to Alex there, you're saying that it doesn't feel quite right. It's because your tempo's not quite right. You know what I mean? That's why I said to Jack, sometimes it's just good just to run up and bowl a few little seam ups, and it just gets you into that sort of feeling of not bowling spin, and then it comes back to you, that rhythm, that tempo, that aggressive but sort of contained aggression towards the crease. Sometimes when you lose your run up, you're either trying to be too controlled, or you're then sort of like steaming in and getting a bit long on your delivery stride. Do you know what I mean? And so sometimes if you just sort of run up and feel happy at what you're doing, it very, very soon comes back to you. But run-ups are tricky. I mean, the great Shane Warne was he just sort of walked up to the crease, but I've never seen a man walk up to a crease with so much energy and purpose. Do you know what I mean? Amazing how he would explode at the end of the crease sort of thing and get those revs on it, and that's what it's all about.
Let's move on to the final bit with Phil and Jack. Steve Smith averaging 59.8 from his 96 tests. He's hit 11 centuries against England. He's having a stint at Sussex at the moment and doing okay. Jack was giving very little away here about plans to get him out, though.
So then, have you got a plan how to get Steve Smith out?
Well, I wouldn't be divulging that here, but have you got a plan for me?
Well, yeah, I might have. I mean, it's not much of a plan, really, but I can't remember him playing an extra cover drive.
Right.
To a left-arm spinner, or too many spinners. I can't remember him, sort of, but because he sets up, doesn't he, and he does all his walking about and everything, and he looks to come down and knock you through there, doesn't he, all the time.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, how wide it is.
Yeah.
But I think, didn't you get him dropped at Edgbaston?
I didn't play.
Oh, where was it?
Old Trafford.
Was it Old Trafford or something?
I got him out off a no ball, didn't I?
Oh, off no ball, that was it.
Why are you bringing that up?
Well, no, sorry, mate, but that was how, because you didn't give him that nice little release shot that you're all sitting there talking, to the skipper, and he's going, what line are you bowling? You're going, well, I'm bowling it there, and he keeps hitting me through there. A bit like the great players hit it where the fielders are.
Yeah.
So I just think I'd be enticing him, I'd almost just bowl six, that length, that far outside off stump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he'll go like that, and he'll go like that, and he'll just keep leaving him, and then he'll get bored. And all you got to do then is just hold your length that you don't get, or have one of your men at back on the cut.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. He's not a massive sweeper. He's not a massive slog sweeper, is he?
No. Yeah. Okay.
So if he wants to slog sweep, he has got to reach
it from there,
wide-ish, and then you can start playing around with your paces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can bowl a little quicker one outside off stump, wee, or a little slower one, wee. You know what I mean?
I'll speak to Stokesy, and then if that works,
yeah,
I'll be looking up to the commentary box and I'll be celebrating with you. Yeah. The cat celebration, I like it.
So, Jack, how many Test wickets have you got?
120, I think. How many have you got?
121, isn't it? Well done, boy. You've been bowling beautifully.
No, thank you, Tuffers. But I obviously look up to you massively. and it's a pleasure to talk to you about spin. Just keep talking to me because I love the advice, and it means a lot.
Good luck this summer.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
He'll be very important, won't he, Alex, Jack Leach, this summer? He could have a very big role.
Yeah, he's going to be hugely important. I think, you look at the squad and you go, right, he's playing every game. He's going to be the spinner. He is going to have to hold up an end when the seamers need a rest, because the seamers that we've got, they are going to need a rest, short, sharp spells, especially if Mark Wood's playing. He's going to come in and bowl quick and look to get wickets. But Jack Leach is a really important spinner, and he showed his importance, over the last couple of years. The fact that, he's got this new lease of life now. He's got this new confidence under Ben Stokes. He's able to go out and just be himself and pick up wickets. But I think, like he said throughout that interview, is he knows that batters are going to look to attack him. So he knows he's going to have days where he's going to be mega expensive and things aren't going to go his way. But with that, like he said, he's going to get that breakthrough. He's going to create pressure as well, and opportunities are going to come. So, he's going to be hugely important to England. But I feel like Jack Leach has sort of got a second wind with his spin bowling career at the minute. Yeah,
he's evolved, hasn't he, Phil? Finally.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I can remember looking at him a couple of years ago and just sort of thinking, as he said himself, he needed to get up to speed with a few things. And I think he's got there. As you say, I was hugely impressed with the way he bowled in the nets. And he is going to be a crucial sort of cog in this England attack to get 20 wickets. It's difficult. These guys, they've got a very good batting lineup, these Australians, with like Khawaja, as you say, Warner, these guys. Are getting runs, so he's going to be pivotal, and I think he's going to have a great summer.